Welcome to the Municipal DataWorks Asset Valuation Module Training Video number 4, Configure Valuation Settings. In Video 3, category exceptions were cleared. The next step in the valuation process is to enter the valuation settings for each category. The settings are then used in the valuation calculations for each asset assigned to that category. First, click Next to open the Category Edit page. Each category must be selected individually. Click on the category you wish to open. Useful life is determined by your knowledge or your engineer's knowledge of the life expectancy of your assets. Once the value is input, the module assumes that all assets within the category have similar life expectancy. Useful life can be shown as years, months, or a combination years and months. If you want the asset to be amortized over, let's say, 75 years and 6 months, insert those values in the appropriate line. For this example, I will use even years. Next, select the amortization method from the pick list. The choices are declining balance, non-depreciable, straight line. If you select declining balance, you must also input the declining factor. For example, double declining balance would require a 2. I am selecting straight line amortization as it is the preferred amortization method. Next, select the valuation method for determining the initial cost of the asset. Historic cost assumes that the original installation cost or purchase price is available within the MDW asset inventory. Each asset in the category requires a lifecycle event that includes the total cost of installation or purchase of the asset as a lifecycle event detail. For this example, I know that all assets in the category have lifecycle events. Those events include a lifecycle event detail for total cost, and I have selected that option. Next, a value for capitalization threshold must be entered. This value will be determined by the treasurer and represents the lower limit that will be used to filter out assets that fall below the threshold. Assets below the threshold will not be reported. For my example, I'm using $10,000. Once all selections are made, click Save. These steps must be repeated for each asset category. For the next category, I know historic construction cost and installation cost do not exist for all assets in the category. I will need to use one of the other valuation methods to calculate a theoretical historic cost. First, though, I enter the useful life and I select the amortization method. Discounted replacement and discounted reproduction perform the same calculation, but the selection simply adds a tag to the report. Discounted replacement cost is a cost equal to current year replacement cost of the asset built to today's standards. If the asset, for heritage or other reasons, had to be reproduced as it exists today, discounted reproduction would be selected. In my example, I'm going to use discounted replacement cost. Next, geometric type must be selected from the pick list. Geometric type tells the module which asset attribute the system should retrieve. This attribute will be multiplied by the unit cost. In this example, I know I have length meters stored in the asset records for water mains. Costs will be calculated based on unit cost input by you. Unit costs are specific to the category. The unit costs are typically based on your knowledge of local costs to build the asset. In this example, 200 mm diameter PVC water main costs $120 a meter. The cost index may be one of the standard indices provided within MDW, or you may create and save your own cost index. The treasurer will need to determine which cost index is appropriate for each asset type and each category. For my example, I'm selecting Consumer Price Index, Ontario. You may also enter percentage values for environmental assessment costs and design costs. The unit cost already input will be multiplied by the percentage amounts. These values will then be added to the unit cost to provide a total cost per meter. If environmental assessment and design costs are included in the unit cost, or these values are not applicable to the asset type, enter 0. Capitalization threshold must be entered. Again, this value must be determined by the treasurer and may be a different value for each asset type or each category of asset. With the setup so far, the asset valuation module will discount the current year replacement or reproduction cost back to the lifecycle event date of acquisition, installation, or last reconstruction of the asset using the selected cost index. This is providing a date lifecycle event exists for all asset records. If asset records do not contain a lifecycle event date, average age of the asset can be used. Check the Is Pool box and input the average age. With this additional setup, the asset valuation module will calculate a theoretical historic cost and amortize that cost from the value entered here, in this example 50 years. Knowing the actual age of the asset is preferred. Once all selections are made, click Save. One question needs to be answered before we end this video. What if I have historic costs for some assets but not all? With this setup for discounted replacement or reproduction, if historic cost exists for construction, installation, or purchase of some assets in the category, the module will amortize the total cost included in the lifecycle event. For all other assets in the category, the asset valuation module will use the setup on this page to calculate a theoretical historic cost. Appraised cost requires some additional setup and will be demonstrated in video 5.